The water falls. It hits your skin. You feel warm. The shower is nice. You stand under water. It falls on your head. You hear it loud. The sound is strong. The shower is hot. You feel relaxed. Your muscles are soft. Your breath is slow. You smell the soap. It is sweet. You feel clean. The water washes you. You think of nothing. Your mind is empty. You just stand. The water falls. An idea comes. It is sudden. You feel surprised. You think it is good. The water keeps falling. You keep thinking. The idea grows. It is big. You feel happy. You want to jump. You want to shout. The idea is exciting. The shower is nice. You like it. You feel good. The water is warm. You hear the water. It is loud. You feel the heat. The shower is strong. You are calm. You are relaxed. You are happy. The idea is good. You can sleep now. You are tired. The shower was nice. The idea came. The water stops. You get out. You feel cool. The air is fresh. You lie down. You close eyes. You feel sleepy. The bed is soft. The room is quiet. You hear nothing. You feel calm. You sleep. When you sleep, your body repairs itself because it needs time to fix the damage from the day. Your muscles relax and your mind stops thinking, which helps you feel refreshed when you wake up. If you don't sleep enough, you might feel tired and grumpy because your body didn't get the rest it needed. When you wake up, you feel happy because you had a good sleep and your idea from the shower is still in your mind. You think about it more, and you realize it's similar to a puzzle where all the pieces fit together. If you try to force the pieces, they won't fit, but when you let them fall into place naturally, the picture becomes clear. This happens because our brains are wired to recognize patterns, and when we're relaxed, we can see the connections more easily. Because you're feeling inspired, you decide to write down your idea, and when you start typing, the words flow easily. You're like a river, flowing downhill, and your thoughts are carried along by the current. If you try to stop the river, it will just find another way to flow, because that's what water does. This is similar to how our thoughts work. When we're in a creative state, our ideas can flow freely, and we can make new connections. When you're writing, you feel like you're in a flow because you're fully focused on the task, and time seems to disappear. You're like a musician playing a song, and the notes just come naturally because you've practiced before. If you practice a skill, you get better at it because your brain creates new pathways and it becomes easier to access them. This is why, when you're doing something you love, you feel happy and time flies by because you're fully engaged. When you take a break, you go for a walk because you need some fresh air and your body needs to move. You see the trees and the birds and the sky, and you feel connected to nature because you're a part of it. If you spend too much time indoors, you might feel disconnected because you're not getting the stimuli you need from the natural world. This is why, when you're outside, you feel more alive and your senses are more alert because you're responding to the environment. Because you're walking, you start to think about your idea again, and when you do, you realize it's like a seed that needs to be nurtured and given time to grow. If you plant a seed and you give it water and sunlight, it will grow into a plant because that's what seeds do. This is similar to how our ideas work. When we give them attention and care, they can grow and develop and become something beautiful. When you get back home, you feel refreshed because you've been outside and you've had time to think. You sit down and you start to write again because you're inspired and the words are flowing. If you keep writing, you'll finish your project because you're making progress and you're staying focused. This is why, when you're working on something you love, you feel happy and fulfilled because you're creating something of value and you're expressing yourself. As the words continue to flow, a sense of clarity emerges, and the idea that was once a seed begins to take root, its development being influenced by the nurturing process, which, in turn, is facilitated by the creative environment that has been established. The notion that our minds are capable of cultivating ideas, much like a gardener tends to a garden, is a concept that has been explored by various thinkers throughout history, including the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle, who believed that the human mind has the potential to become a repository of knowledge and wisdom. The process of idea generation, in this sense, can be seen as a form of evolution, where thoughts and concepts undergo a process of natural selection, with the strongest and most viable ones being retained and developed further. This evolutionary process is, in many ways, analogous to the scientific concept of emergence, where complex systems and patterns arise out of simpler components, often in unexpected and innovative ways. As the writer becomes more immersed in the creative process, the distinction between the self and the external world begins to blur, and the boundaries between reality and imagination become increasingly fluid. Much like the concept of the collective unconscious proposed by Carl Jung, which suggests that certain universal symbols and archetypes are shared across cultures and time. The act of writing, in this context, can be seen as a form of active participation in the collective unconscious, where the individual is tapping into a deeper reservoir of creativity and inspiration, which is, in turn, being shaped by the cultural and historical context in which they are writing. The words, as they flow onto the page, are, in a sense, being written by the collective unconscious, with the individual serving as a conduit or medium, allowing the ideas and concepts to emerge and take shape. This perspective, which is reminiscent of the concept of the muse in ancient Greek mythology, highlights the complex and multifaceted nature of the creative process, where the individual is both the creator and the created, the writer and the written. As the writing continues, the sense of time and space becomes increasingly distorted, and the writer becomes lost in the flow of the narrative, which is unfolding like a river, with its own twists and turns, and its own inherent logic and momentum. The experience of being fully engaged in the creative process is, in many ways, similar to the concept of flow proposed by the psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, where the individual is completely absorbed in the activity and is experiencing a sense of heightened focus and concentration which is, in turn, leading to a sense of greater fulfillment and satisfaction. As the writer emerges from this state of flow, they are left with a sense of wonder and awe at the complexity and beauty of the creative process and the way in which it can transform and transcend the individual, allowing them to tap into a deeper sense of purpose and meaning. The question, then, is what lies at the heart of this creative process, and what is the source of the inspiration that drives it? A question that has puzzled thinkers and artists for centuries, and one that continues to be explored and debated in the present day. The inquiry into the essence of creativity precipitates a dialectical tension between the conscious and subconscious aspects of the human experience, prompting an examination of the interplay between the intentional and the unintentional, the deliberate and the spontaneous, and the manner in which these dichotomies intersect and inform one another. As the writer delves deeper into the creative process, they begin to confront the paradoxical nature of inspiration, which appears to emanate from a realm that is both internal and external, personal and universal, and yet, simultaneously, defies clear categorization or definition. This ambiguity gives rise to a series of epistemological questions regarding the origins of knowledge and the role of the individual in the creative process, including the extent to which the self is capable of self-expression and the degree to which the external world influences and shapes the inner landscape of the mind. The confluence of these factors generates a complex, emergent system, wherein the boundaries between the self and the other, the internal and the external, become increasingly fluid, and the distinctions between reality and imagination, truth and fiction, begin to blur and dissolve. In this context, the act of writing assumes a performative dimension, wherein the writer is not merely expressing themselves, but is, in fact, enacting a process of self-creation, whereby the self is continually being rewritten and reconfigured in relation to the world, and the world, in turn, is being rewritten and reconfigured in relation to the self. This reciprocal relationship highlights the fundamentally relational nature of creativity, which is characterized by a dynamic interplay between the individual and the environment, the internal and the external, and the manner in which these interactions give rise to new forms of expression, new modes of being, and new ways of understanding the world. The question, then, is not so much what lies at the heart of the creative process, but rather, how do we come to understand the intricate web of relationships that underlies it, and how do we navigate the complex, ever-shifting landscape of the self, the world, and the intersections between them? And as we ponder this question, we are left to contemplate the silence that surrounds us, a silence that is not empty, but rather is filled with the whispers of the unknown, the unseen, and the unsaid. And it is in this silence that we may finally come to understand the true nature of creativity, or perhaps it is in this silence that we will simply come to rest, and in the stillness find the answer, or perhaps the question itself will dissolve, leaving only the gentle whisper of the unknown, fading slowly into the quiet, the stillness, and the darkness.